Hello and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. I'm Mackailyn Johnson and here's some of the stories we're following now at noon. Pulaski County is now taking decisive action to help Central Arkansas's homeless population. Well, we know about the new housing development on the way in less than 2 minutes. New Zealand is serious about ending smoking in their country. At 12:16, we share how officials are enforcing one of the world's strictest smoking laws. Jalen Smith made history last week when he became the youngest black mayor in the U.S. Today, he appears on the Jennifer Hudson Show. We have all the details to make sure you don't miss it. That's just ahead. But first, meteorologist Scott Covert is here with us, tracking lots of severe weather last night. Today, it seems much calmer. Scott, what can we expect?
Much calmer, but unfortunately, Mackailyn, it's going to be another wet and dreary day. Here's the good news before I get to the bad. The good news is that this is likely our last wet and dreary day for the next several days. With that said, here at the noon hour, this is what we're tracking. Another screen full of rain showers, some of which are going to be heavy at times. In fact, in Logan and Scott County, it's possible we actually had, get this, a little bit of sleet mixing in. Now that rain is getting closer into the downtown Little Rock area. It'll continue tracking off towards the east and should be out of the area by later tonight. Temperatures in the metro right now in the middle 50s. You got upper 50s in eastern Arkansas, but if you look into places like Fayetteville and Fort Smith, northwestern parts of Arkansas, well, you have some colder air, and that cold air will continue funneling in all evening long. Your chance of rain for the rest of the day looks like this. We should be dry by this evening with our skies clearing out. May even see the moon and the stars for the first time in quite some time. And how about that tomorrow? Sunshine returns to the natural state. We just got to get through today first. Temperatures likely holding steady where they are now in those mid to upper 50s before they turn really cold going into the weekends. We'll have the latest look on that cold blast and just how cold it's going to get coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Scott. Right now, we are working to learn more about another Little Rock shooting. Homicide detectives say one man was found shot in the 4800 block of South University Avenue last night. The victim died before he could be taken to the hospital. Police are working to identify the man and his age. They're also looking for tips from anyone who witnessed anything suspicious. And in western Arkansas, authorities are investigating a suspicious death in Mena. Police responded to a home on Hickory Avenue Tuesday to find a 47-year-old man dead inside. Mena police say they've notified Arkansas State Police, who will be investigating. And something you need to check today if you live in North Little Rock, your bank statements. The North Little Rock Electric Department says some of their customers that use auto pay were double charged. The electric provider says they have corrected the problem and are working to get the charges removed. The charges could take up to 72 hours to disappear from your account, but if they do not go away, you are asked to contact North Little Rock Electric directly. And staying in North Little Rock, the city is celebrating as renovations of the iconic One Riverfront Place building are complete. The building was purchased last year by Leffler Capital, who pushed for the significant renovations. The previous owner, U.S. Bank, occupies most of the property and will remain in the building. We are continuing coverage on the homeless problem in Central Arkansas. More than a week ago, RDOT announced the removal of homeless camps near Little Rock and North Little Rock interstates, and with overcrowded shelters, there are few places available. Now, Pulaski County is planning on adding an alternative option for those unsheltered. This is the Mableville location of a new concept never before seen in Arkansas, affordable housing in the form of tiny homes for those who don't have a place to call home. The proposed community is modeled after the Community First Village in Austin, Texas. The program houses dozens of people who otherwise wouldn't be able to have a home. People pay rent with money they make through entrepreneurship or taking on duties within the village. This is something Advisory Council Chair Aaron Stanger can't wait to bring to Central Arkansas.
It's not transient. You're not going to be there for a month and then move on. So when you come into the village, you can stay there forever.
They hope to have the village complete by the end of next year, and residents will be selected through an application process. Governor Hutchinson is calling Donald Trump's plans to run for president, quote, the worst scenario for Republicans. The governor shared his thoughts on the former president's third run for office in an interview with the Associated Press. Hutchinson is part of a growing number of Republicans eyeing a White House run. He says he plans to make a decision early next year after he leaves office in January. Now, those plans were a big point of discussion during a game of horse between the governor and our very own Craig O'Neill. The two talked about what a Hutchinson presidential run could look like and looked back at the legacy he leaves behind as the 46th governor of Arkansas. You don't want to miss this unique one-on-one interview tonight at 10. Today marks 10 years since the mass shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. 20 children and 6 educators were murdered by a man using an assault rifle. Since then, there have been over 4,000 mass shootings in the U.S. Nikki Batiste sat down with 2 parents who each lost a child and are fighting to make schools safer.
The morning of December 14th, 2012 would be the last time Nicole Hockley and Mark Barden ever saw their youngest children, 6-year-old Dylan Hockley and 7-year-old Daniel Barden.
Dylan was this gorgeous little boy with these gigantic blue eyes. He was just an absolute joy. I still can't wrap my head around that it's 10 years.
On the last day of Daniel's life, he asked me to show him something on the piano. So I taught him how to play Jingle Bells. That was in the last few hours of his life.
1 month later, they helped launch Sandy Hook Promise, a nonprofit focused on protecting America's children from gun violence.
Look for warning signs and threats.
Its Know the Signs programs teach children and adults how to identify at-risk behaviors and intervene to get help. More than 23,000 schools nationwide use the programs, which the group says have helped stop at least 11 credible planned school shooting attacks.
We're focused on what we call upstream violence prevention. How do we, at the earlier end of that scale, intervene and get help?
They found an ally in Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy.
For me, the last 10 years has been about trying to rattle this country.
A new study shows the U.S. has reached its highest number of gun deaths in nearly 30 years, with a recent 20% jump. And since Sandy Hook, there have been more than 4,200 mass shootings, 38 of them at schools. Earlier this year, the bipartisan Safer Communities Act was signed into law, 1 month after 19 students and 2 teachers were murdered at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas.
Find a path forward here.
Murphy and Republican Senator John Cornyn from Texas wrote the legislation. It's the most significant gun-related law in 30 years and includes enhanced background checks for people 18 to 21. It also invests money in mental health resources and red flag laws, which led authorities to take guns from people deemed dangerous.
Is it enough?
It doesn't solve the epidemic, but it saves thousands of lives.
Has your work and this journey you took on together helped in the healing process?
That's a tough one. Yes. I mean, short answer, yes.
It's helping because it's providing a legacy and impact and change, but it's also constantly re-traumatizing.
Both want people to remember how their sons' lives were violently ended and make sure it never happens to any child ever again. Nikki Batiste, CBS News, Newtown, Connecticut.
There have been gun control changes at the state level too since Sandy Hook. The number of states requiring background checks on all handgun sales went from 14 to 21. 17 states added red flag laws and 6 have banned assault rifles, including Connecticut. The Federal Reserve meets today to decide on another interest rates hike, part of a long-running plan to bring down prices. The Fed will likely boost its benchmark rate today by half a percentage point. It's the 7th increase this year, even at the risk of causing a recession next year. That Fed announcement will come around 1:15 this afternoon local time. The nation's lawmakers are working to avoid a possible government shutdown. Lawmakers now say they have reached a framework deal on the must-pass government funding bill and are prepared to pass a continuing resolution to extend the deadline until December 23rd, giving them time to write the bill. President Joe Biden has now signed the Respect for Marriage Act into law. It focuses on protecting the rights of same-sex and interracial couples, even if the Supreme Court were to reverse some of its previous rulings that so far have guaranteed those rights. New Zealand is taking aggressive steps to end the practice of smoking in the country. More on the lifetime ban in 5 minutes. But first, let's check in with Scott Covert.
Hey, we're going to be taking a look right here at Interstate 430 over the Arkansas River Bridge. Dry at the moment, but our radar shows more of that rain heading our direction. How long is it going to last? And will we ever see that sun again? Those details coming up in your extended forecast.